The Arditi, the elite shock trooper unit of the Italian army during the First World War. Their motto, we either win or we all die. This specialized unit will be a driving force for Italy in breaking through the deadlock stalemate in the Alps against the Austro-Hungarians. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of The Real History of. This series is all about taking a look at the various figures and events that inspired the settings of popular video games. I'm your host Christopher, the video game historian, and on this episode, I'm going to take a look at the real history of the Arditi. Literally meaning the daring ones, the Arditi were formed in the summer of 1917 by Colonel Bazzi as a way to help break through the deadlock between Italy and the Austro-Hungarians in the Alps. The Arditi were not regular infantry. In fact, they were a special unit of the army with soldiers being drafted from volunteers from the Alpini mountain troops and the Bersaglieri light infantry. The unit was relatively small with 600 men and officers formed into companies of 150 men. Originally they trained at a school which taught them gymnastics, how to handle grenades, hand-to-hand combat, and attacking enemy entrenched positions. This however was lost at Caporetto, and after that, each company had their own training. The goal of the Arditi was to simply break through enemy positions. To do so they relied on speed, surprise, and meticulous planning. They would advance right behind friendly artillery bombardments onto enemy positions, and once they stopped, the Arditi would begin to lob grenades into the trenches to keep the enemies confused, as though the artillery was still going on. During the confusion, the Arditi would then jump into the trenches and finish off the enemies. Unlike other infantry units, the Arditi suffered a much higher casualty rate, between 25 and 30% per mission. Despite that, they were successful throughout the remainder of the war. A typical Arditi soldier will be equipped with heavy armor, 25 grenades, a pugnal dagger, and a machete rifle. Submachine gun and flamethrower squads would also be equipped with a Villa Perosa machine gun and a flamethrower, which would be used against bunkers and pillboxes. They rarely used their rifles as they were in such close quarters and only used them when they had to defend their newly acquired positions from an enemy counterattack while they waited to be relieved by standard infantry. Arditi soldiers also had access to better accommodations during the war, which included being transported by trucks, being paid a higher wage, and access to better rations. The first Arditi assault took place during the night on August 18, 1917 at Montefratta on the Isonzo front. This was a successful operation as they managed to capture 500 enemy soldiers, 8 machine guns, and had light casualties. The following month, they enjoyed even more successes as they captured 3,100 Austro-Hungarian soldiers, 55 machine guns, and 26 artillery pieces, helping tip the stalemate in favor of the Italians. They would be used throughout the rest of the war at Three Mountains, Piave, and Vittorio Veneto, and were even credited with stopping an Austro-Hungarian advance west of Monte Grappa. After the war, the Arditi were disbanded and demobilized by 1919. Despite that, many former Arditi began to side with Mussolini and the rise of fascism in Italy. While some supported this movement, there were also those who stood opposed to it. A group of former Arditi established a resistance group called the Arditi del Popolo, in which they stood opposed to Mussolini and fascism. In 1922, 350 of these soldiers stood against 10,000 blackshirts and defended the city of Parma. Unfortunately, these men would later be arrested and executed, and the anti-fascist movement dismantled by 1924. If you had already won 3 games of operations in July and are keeping up with the call to action missions in Battlefield 1, remember that by completing all 3, you will be rewarded with the LVC Arditi knife melee weapon. The second mission begins Saturday, August 5th and lasts until Sunday, August 13th, wherein you must win 3 games of Rush. That's all for this week's episode. Hopefully you all enjoyed it, and if you had, please give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and leave your comments down below. Also remember to like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter for more news. Until next time, see you on the battlefield.